Ndiba and Marigny at the center circle to tip it off, and it's back to Cincinnati. We're underway in Fifth Third Arena. The Bearcats, a 7-win season so far, already halfway to their win total from a season ago.
Bearcats are finding their rhythm early. You like how they're coming out, they're getting in their groove with Coach Merriweather in her second season.
Rims out for Reagan Jackson, tipped under the basket, out of bounds. It will stay at this end as Mayer tried to save it. Now, one thing to watch, AB, look for how Cincinnati starts this game. Coach Merriweather told us they're looking for cleaner starts. She said it seems like anything we try, it's just not working in terms of getting off to a good start in games.
Well, right there we see Marshall was locked in defensively on Reagan Jackson. The scouting report knows what she brings to the table. And there, Jillian Hayes facing a double team immediately on the catch.
Marshall with the rebound there after a couple of chances for Cincinnati. The Thundering Herd go with Mayer, Hayes, Kellyan, Mays, and Marigny. That's a travel on Mayer, who's coming off a 20-point game. She tied her career high with 6 made threes in that win against Jacksonville, and they needed all the threes they could get down the stretch. They made 14 in the game, and they knocked down 6 in the fourth quarter to win it 78-76. Thundering Herd come out in a press here. Cincinnati starting 5. Reagan and Ariel Jackson, Alliance Ndiba, Jillian Hayes, and Tanea Hilton.
The starting lineup's been consistent for Cincinnati, and that's where you're going to start to see them get into more of that rhythm.
Ariel Jackson left alone, and she knocks in the 3. That's the first from long range for Cincinnati in more than a game. They were 0 of 13 in the win against Xavier on Sunday. In this age of basketball, AB, how often you go 0 of 13 from 3 and you find a way to win a game?
Not very often. Cincinnati, though, has its bread and butter with, right there, defense. Coach Merriweather preaches defense. She was tutored under the legendary and Hall of Fame coach Lori Pirtle, who is established as just a defensive savant. And
she said, I don't care about threes. I don't care if we make them or not. She wants to make enough to be respectable, just so they have to respect the three-point line, but it's not the identity of this Cincinnati team. It is the identity for Julie Folks and Marshall, her first season, and she has some big shoes to fill, replacing Kim Caldwell, who was with the program for just 1 year. She departed for Tennessee after guiding Marshall to their first NCAA tournament since 1997. And if you follow women's college basketball, Kim Caldwell is doing wonders at Tennessee, having the Volunteers ranked this season after a few down years.
You know, Tennessee is close to my heart, having spent 2 years in Knoxville. And just the energy around basketball, period, and the game that you get not only in the SEC and the Big 12, but all across women's basketball.
Off the mark for Hilton, the long rebound tracked down by Ndiba in the corner. Reagan Jackson is calling for it, but a good closeout from Mayer. Stop that catch and shoot. Tipped away inside, that was Leocha Marigny getting a piece of that. The transfer from Reedley College. Here's Hayes, very good at getting downhill and then kicking out to those three-point shooters. Mays, the same thing, and earns a trip to the line.
Well, this is going to be a tough matchup. Mays for Marshall has such a power and explosive first step. The Bearcats are going to have to make sure that they close out, and Ariel Jackson picking up these early fouls. This is something to watch for, Anthony. The Bearcats are known to get into foul trouble. And with the way that Mays can drive and the way that Marshall overall will drive and dish, closeouts are going to be important.
Mays at the free throw line. She's 86% on the season. As you mentioned, Jackson committing that foul, she checks out. And Coach Folks told us the identity of this team is shooting threes. That is the strength, but they actually practice more on finishing around the rim and the driving, because the identity is three-point shooting, but as you know, AB, as a coach, you want to collapse that defense inside, drive, and then kick. And if the defense respects the three-point line more, then you have the easy layup. So that's why they actually focus on driving more than three-point shooting.
And getting those driving kicks allow the three-pointers to be off of a set shot instead of off of the dribble or in motion.
A lid on the basket for both teams. Mays went 0 of 2 at the line, and Cincinnati is 1 of 7 from the floor. Not that time for Mays. Jackson has the rebound. Almost thrown away. Mayer getting back defensively. Hesitation for Hilton and gets the roll.
Well, Tanea Hilton, she's the one for Cincinnati who has been that force on the point guard position.
Running a lot through CeCe Mays here for the Thundering Herd, trying to get downhill again, and a tough finish inside. Mays averages just shy of 9 points per game, and that's going the other way off the fingertips of Hayes. She thought she was undercut, but no whistle.
So Marshall making sure that they get back in transition defense, and this is going to be important as Cincinnati likes to send post players, particularly these rim runners, down the court early.
Mays again going to the cup, and Byers was there to contest the shot. Jackson nails the pull-up.
Well, that time Marshall had 4 defenders back, and Jackson just read the court well, taking the mid-range pull-up.
Mayer wide open, and she's one of the best in the business, and that's exactly who Cincinnati did not want to leave open for threes.
Well, that's a 38% three-point shooter that Cincinnati left unchecked in transition.
What's impressed Coach Fulks about Mayer, obviously only coaching her for the first time this year, as Mann is off the mark from 3. But in terms of Meredith Mayer, Coach Fulks told us she's learning how to become more of a three-dimensional scorer. She's always been a sharpshooter from long range, but she's improving in other areas of her game. And another contested shot, that's off the mark. But the hops from Hilton keep it alive, and a loose ball foul against Mays.
So Cincinnati getting down the court quickly and taking a relatively quick shot right off the bat. Tanea Hilton fighting in there for the offensive rebounds. And this is something that Cincinnati's going to have to watch. As they take the quick shots and send the guards in on rebounding, are they going to be able to contain Marshall quickly up the court to stop those quick threes?
Delaney Snyder has come in for Cincinnati. Hayes will take a seat. She hasn't gotten many touches so far in this game. On the quick inbound, Hilton left open for 3.
Tanea Hilton, the second leading scorer for the Bearcats, averaging just under 14 points per game.
Cincinnati, after going 0 of 13 from long range in the last game, 2 of 5 from deep to start this game today. That's a push off there, called against Ashley Tudor. She is a Cincinnati native and just barreled over Chloe Mann.
Well, Ashley Tudor gives Marshall some length on the court. And in a game like this, they're going to have to use the variety of their talent with length.
2 Cincinnati natives on this Marshall roster. Tudor played at Mercy McCauley High School, spent a couple of years at Radford before coming to Marshall. And Cassie Ingram, who doesn't play much for Marshall, she's a King's High School graduate. Tudor tried to knock that one to herself. Byers there for Cincinnati. Opens up for Hilton, and it rims out.
Will Williams for Marshall with the early block deflection to really disrupt the Cincinnati offense and then able to secure that defensive rebound.
5-point game, under 5 to play in the first quarter. Mayer has already knocked down a 3 in this first. Kellyan is yet to get going. 7 to shoot. Kellyan tried to dish it down low, and it's knocked away. A lot of quick shots for Cincinnati in this first quarter. That's another one for Reagan Jackson.
Well, we talk about three-point shooting rhythm. And when you're catching a pass like that off a transition and have to completely, almost full front pivot into the shot, it's just a low percentage look.
You can count that one and the foul for Ace Hayes.
Well, you mentioned Anthony Marshall's desire to drive, to dish, and if Cincinnati's not going to help off threes, Marshall can continue to finish layups.
So Hayes has a chance for a three-point play when we come back. Marshall, though, getting caught flat-footed. Hilton knocked it in. But a three-point game going to the break. Hayes, the drive and finish. Well, Ace Hayes is going to be at the free throw line trying to convert a three-point play. What a special player. She leads the Sun Belt Conference in points per game. She is second in minutes played per game this season. Already one-time player of the week in the Sun Belt. She is a preseason first-team selection. And she's on the team with her sister, Alasia. Alasia has not played this year, but always fun to have a sister as your teammate. And it was a slow start to the season for Hayes. Coach Volks told us that beginning part of the season, she wasn't shooting well. She really couldn't find the bottom of the net, but then erupted for 31 AB against Tulsa. And it seemed like the floodgates have opened since then.
Well, Ace has just been on a rampage. And what's also impressive about her game is she's second on the team in assists. So not just the leading scorer, but knows how to move the ball around.
Just shy of 3 helpers a game for Hayes, who missed the free throw. So it stays at a 3-point Cincinnati advantage. Abby Holman into the game, and her first shot finds the bottom of the net from long range.
Now that's a great three-point look for the Bearcats. Holman was squared up to the basket, a nice reversal, step-in rhythm shot.
And you emphasize a good three-point shot because we were just talking between the breaks how Cincinnati has rushed a lot on the offensive end, not a lot of good three-point shots.
Well, and that goes back to the beginning of the game. We talked about discipline. Being disciplined with shot selection, with movement, and with decision-making is so key.
Pull up for Byers off the mark. Snyder missed the second chance try. The third chance doesn't go. Still loose, and Tudor has it.
Marshall wasting no time, moving the ball right up the court. Look for Marshall to continue to change the pace and tempo as pertinent for each possession.
That's blocked from behind. Snyder ripped it away from Maddie Kellyan. Snyder trying to go to work inside and banks that one in.
Well, against the zone, this lineup for the Bearcats is going to have to find just really gutsy ways to score, and post feeds may be the key. Delaney Snyder having that height advantage.
Hayes working inside and draws the foul on Dunn. And that's what Hayes can provide. We talked a lot about Kellyan and Mayer, how they're so prolific from long range. Hayes does her work inside the lane.
Well, what makes this play so beautiful is, as you just mentioned, Anthony, you got Kellyan and Mayer spotted up on the wing. That allows no help defenders inside, so Hayes has a clear right-hand lane line drive to the basket.
Knocks down the first free throw. Hayes out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Spent 2 years at Middle Tennessee State. She was a Conference USA Freshman of the Year back in 2020. And then went on to Mississippi State for a couple of years, and now wrapping up her career, her second year at Marshall. Just shy of 18 points per game on the season for Hayes, who makes it a 6-point game again. Rims out for Reagan Jackson in the corner. Marshall will try to push here. Hayes one-on-one with Dunn again. Good job by Cincinnati to get back and find Kellyan in transition. The best three-point shooter in the Sun Belt. 10 to shoot for Mays. Trying to free up Kellyan, not there. Hayes, turnaround shot won't go, gets her own miss. And a foul. How about the work from Aislinn Hayes over the last couple of minutes?
And this is so impressive, watching this young lady just work each possession. She's moving the basketball, she's driving to the rim, and there, going up and following her own shot to get the offensive rebound, draw the foul, and still maintain possession.
Risky pass up top. Mayer, though, benefits from it. So Cincinnati gambled trying for the steal, and Mayer makes them pay.
Well, Coach Falks talked about the quick release of Mayer and how she just has this beautiful rotation on her shot.
Over the last 2 games, and that is an intentional foul. Clock getting close to the end of this first quarter. Fouls to give here. But Mayer, over the last 2 games now, AB, has made 8 3-pointers, and we still have 3 quarters to go in this game.
It's one of those games where you wonder, is this going to be that special, magical game at the 3-point line?
Dump down to Bird, who's been playing some valuable minutes for Cincinnati off the bench.
Ramaya Bird showing her athleticism and her versatility, just quick on the court.
Off the mark, too strong for Kellyan, and Hayes skies up to grab the rebound. Hayes has not scored in this first quarter for the Bearcats. Not there for Dunn. Shot clock is off now for Marshall, and Coach Folks throws her hand up and says, we'll play for the final shot here.
That's one thing that makes Coach Folks such a stellar coach, is her ability to manage the clock. Of course, every coach would have done the same in that position. However, she's just so calculated with how she manages pace throughout the game.
This is way outside for Mayer, and I don't think that was the shot they were looking for, because there was still about 7 seconds on the game clock when Mayer threw that up.
Well, I guess that calculation just didn't calculate.
So now a chance for Cincinnati, the half-court heat from Hilton.
At the end of the first quarter, the score.
So a competitive first quarter range.
The challenge for Cincinnati is when they're cold, and when they're warm, it's just lukewarm. Whereas Marshall has the ability to get just red hot from that 3-point line. Again, not just with 1 to 2 players, but multiple players, 4 across the board for Marshall, who are strong 3-point threats.
Well, funny enough, it's been Cincinnati shooting better from long range so far in this game, and defending the 3-point line well, so reversing that trend, but Marshall definitely a very good 3-point shooting team. Mays a moment ago nearly had the strong drive. Second chance for Marshall here. Off the mark for Mayer. There's Ilderton into the game for the first time. She's open for 3. Another offensive rebound for Mays.
Well, this lineup for the Bearcats, when you're in the zone, rebounding, particularly on the back side of the zone, is vital. You see Mays for Marshall just attacking that offensive board.
Good closeout on Mayer, 5 to shoot. Kellyan knifing inside, now out to Ilderton. Yes, right as the shot clock expires.
You like that consistency. Ilderton came on strong in that possession, missed one, got his second opportunity, hands and feet are ready.
Ilderton's a good story. She came on to Marshall as a walk-on, received a scholarship midway through her freshman season. Now a junior out of Logan, West Virginia.
We see right there, Marshall strong on the scout. They know when to close out onto 3-point shooters and put that ball pressure, disrupting entry feeds into Hayes.
And Mays got her hand on it. She thought it was off of Hayes, but she'll likely take it with 2.7 on the shot clock. Cincinnati will have to go quickly. And by the way, for those listening at home, we are saying different names. There are 2 Hayeses and 1 Mays in this game today. All different players. Good action here for Jackson. Cincinnati had to get it away quickly. She can't connect, but there's Hayes inside, and she traveled before the make. So Hayes is so good at that, getting those second chance stickbacks, that time the extra step.
Well, Marshall, again, being so strong on this double team. Hayes attempting to split the double, but just drags that back foot.
Hayes still scoreless today. She does have 3 rebounds. 6 double-doubles in the first 9 games of the season for Jillian Hayes.
Cincinnati out of the zone into man-to-man.
And it pays off with Byers guarding the smaller Maddie Kellyan. Hayes the quick out to Jackson. Meyer nearly lost it over the baseline.
2 Hayes, a Mays, and 2 Jackson.
We're joking with producer Matt Noonan leading up to this game. It's like watching Major League. Mays and Hayes. Ilderton's already knocked down 1. That one rims out. A rebound right on the baseline for Ariel Jackson.
Cincinnati really playing into the tempo of Marshall right now.
He's trying to reestablish position. The ball goes the other way instead now. 10 to shoot for Cincinnati. Jackson, the step through. Byers, offensive rebound. Out to Hilton, open three.
You talk again about those high percentage threes. Inside out where the shooter can already be set, square to the rim, ready just to step in and catch and release.
Well, sometimes, AB, for a team as good at rebounding as Cincinnati is, the best offense is sometimes a missed shot. That's going to go the other way. Kelly in the offensive foul.
Cincinnati strong on the offensive boards, and Cincinnati very strong on defense. Getting the offensive rebounds and being able to kick it out. We see Brianna Byers there with the offensive rebound and the kick out. These are the types of 3-point shots that Cincinnati needs to take. Reagan Jackson being that kind of anomaly type player for Cincinnati who can do a little bit more coming off screens, and then Ariel Jackson, the one who can do it off the dribble.
Immediately a double team on Hayes and called for the travel once again. Coach Folks told us they have to handle Hayes in this game. She is the star for Cincinnati, trying a few different things to get her off her game, and so far so good.
Well, you like it when you see the double team here. We see Mayer for Marshall going in, immediately swarming the basketball, trying to prevent Hayes from dribbling.
Chance to get this to a one-possession game. Good weaving action for Marshall here, and it's going to lead to some free throws for Aislinn Hayes.
Well, Marshall being so sharp with their execution. You've got drivers who are able to just attack, attack, attack. Mays and Hayes from the perimeter are just so strong. This time, the motion, the weave on the perimeter with Hayes on the left lane line drive.
That's the second foul on Ariel Jackson, so she has to depart. Mayer leaves the floor as well. She played the entire first quarter and the first 3 minutes and 50 seconds of this second quarter, so her first break today. Perhaps an extended breather before the media timeout at the under 5 break. Hayes back to the free throw line for the third time today.
On the season, Hayes is just under a 70% free throw shooter. Volume-wise, dominates on the team in attempts with 67 free throw attempts.
Overall as a team, Marshall middle of the pack in the Sun Belt, 67% as a group.
Marshall feeling comfortable staying in this 2-3 zone. They're giving up some size inside, but they like the way that they're being able to force these turnovers with the double teams.
High off the glass for Chloe Mann. Crafty finish for the freshman.
Well, crafty is the perfect word. Chloe Mann, she just finds ways to play. She's so quick and athletic. She's able to split that defense quick.
She was a big part of the win over Xavier on Sunday when Tanea Hilton fouled out. It was Mann leading the point guard duties. Finished with 8 points. She made some clutch free throws down the stretch. One of the best free throw shooters in the Big 12. That's off the foot of Hayes with the defense from Mann once again.
On offense, Chloe Mann quick to find the open gap against that zone. And Marshall coming around straight up, but just can't contain that nice high off the glass. And then you mentioned, Anthony, Chloe Mann on the other end after scoring that tough shot. 2 deflections and a forced turnover from her defense.
Rattles out for Hilton. And the rebound to Timberlyn Yeast. Dribble drive once again. Hayes to the cup. What a first half for Ace Hayes.
Well, Ace Hayes for Marshall just playing aggressive and getting her 7th point now of the game.
And she'll be at the line when we come back. A couple of 3-point plays already for Ace. Yeah, you read my mind as Hayes at the free throw line converts the three-point play for Marshall. Coach Merriweather, we spoke to her while they were wrapping up the event at the Queen City Book Bank, and I think she's going to be a little bit upset with us, AB, because she made a point to mention, and she wanted us to include the picture of her winning the ring toss game, and I don't think we included that in there.
Well, she gets enough credit for all of her wins against Xavier that
we'll give somebody else a chance.
That's right. Queen City Book Bank, a fun opportunity for all the Bearcats and for all of the kids.
Too strong for man, but another offensive rebound for Cincinnati. That is the team's 10th O-board today. Man the fake one way and buries it the other way.
Now that is a nice shot by Chloe Mann. We've seen her drive, get all the way to the rim. The second to last one high off the glass, and this time a nice one-hand floater.
That's going the other way on the dribble handoff. They get Trishandra Williams. Stuck the leg out there on that handoff screen.
The way that Marshall is turning the corner and driving so strong downhill, this time with Cincinnati going over the ball screens, on that handback, Williams just opened up too soon and called for that moving screen.
Well, it's interesting here, AB. Marshall, we came in talking about the identity of them being a three-point shooting team, but the identity in this first half has been getting downhill first. It's been mostly Hayes working inside and taking the threes when they get them, rather than shooting the threes and getting downhill as the second option. Speaking of downhill, there goes Mann and a trip to the line.
Well, it's funny because both teams have very different defensive strategies, but yet offensively, the players are still finding ways to just attack and get downhill. Cincinnati does it by strength, not being a strong three-point shooting team, whereas Marshall employs that tactic to open up the three-point line.
Both teams at 27% from three in this game. 3 of 11 for Marshall, 4 of 15 for Cincinnati. Although coming into the game, if you had told either of us that Cincinnati at this point would have one more three-point make than Marshall, we'd call you crazy.
Yeah, that was not in the what do they call it, the predictive globe, the fortune telling for the Bearcats.
The crystal ball.
The crystal ball.
The fortune globe. I knew it. Once you said globe, I knew what you were getting at.
You read my mind well.
I read your crystal ball pretty well, apparently.
But yeah, no one would have expected the three-point shooting to be like this. But yet the foul situation is something to keep your eye on. Jillian Hayes out here being aggressive. And it seems as if she may have gotten picked up with that, but no
10-second violation.
10-second violation.
As that pass went across, and I think you're right, AB, that could have been a foul on Hayes if not for the 10-second violation first.
You saw one official with a fist in the air, and then the other official recognized the clock and able to signal that 10 seconds.
Well, they're still trying to get her going. It's been a tough first half for Hayes, who's now 0 of 3 from the floor. And the foul is against Cincinnati on the rebound. They get Alliance Ndiba, the junior college transfer out of Arizona Western, who was a JUCO All-American.
Ndiba being that rebounding force for Cincinnati.
Also a very good shot blocker, top 10 in the Big 12 in blocks per game. Cuts off the drive there, but Mayer open. In and out.
That's another high percentage open look. And if the odds continue to play in Marshall's favor, Cincinnati's going to have to watch out. On the flip side, right now the odds are all going in the favor of Chloe Mann. Another drive.
And that's knocked out of the hands and a travel called against Mays. So it's been a man takeover lately, AB, the last couple of minutes.
Well, Chloe Mann now with 8 points and 3 for 6 is shooting, driving to the basket and getting to the free throw line. And this is 8 points in only 7 minutes of play.
And it's a 6-0 run for Cincinnati, and I believe all 6 of those points have been to Chloe Mann. The high arcing bank shot, the crafty finish, the free throws, and then that last layup. It's opened up to a 9-point advantage, and Ndiba makes it 11 with the friendly roll.
Well, Alliance Ndiba, we talked about what she can do at the rim, and then offensively, she's going to be able to provide a soft mid-range touch for the Bearcats.
Well, it's been the first half of man for Cincinnati and Aislinn Hayes for Marshall, who's in double figures with 11.
Aislinn Hayes now 1 for 2 at the 3.
That broke a long scoring drought for the Thundering Herd, and then Ndiba
inside. Ndiba trying to work, and she's got single coverage down there, but Marshall just playing so physical inside.
Pacheco called for the foul. A lot of times post players are not very good free throw shooters, but Ndiba does not fall into that category. And I hate to say what her percentage is because I don't want to jinx her, but she has not missed a free throw this year, and it is certainly far from her first trip to the line. And I'm so thankful she made that one because that's always the worst feeling, isn't it, AB?
Oh, we were going to drag you through it if that did not go in.
Under 2 to play in the first half. Anthony Mazzini and AB Stocks with you. Marshall has kept it close at times, but all of a sudden it's been a lid on the basket. Example there with Mayer missing again. And a foul on the rebound against Mays. And free throws the rest of this half now for Cincinnati.
This is why Alliance Ndiba is so valuable to Cincinnati. Marshall, because they shoot a lot of threes, they send 4, if not sometimes 5 players to the offensive boards. So when the Bearcats can rely on the consistent rebounding performance of an Ndiba, and then on top of that, strong free throw shooting, this is how everyone has a valuable role on a roster like Cincinnati's.
Well, that was the most predictable thing, wasn't it? I said she was 100%, and the next trip to the line, she misses the second. Always works that way. Wide open for Mays, she can't connect, and now a tie-up inside. That's gonna go to Cincinnati on the arrow.
A little tangled up down there with Alliance Ndiba getting tangled up with Madison Kellyan. And everyone bounced up quickly.
You mentioned Kellyan has been a quiet first half for Kellyan, who makes her way to the bench. Player that Coach Folks is very familiar with, spent 4 years at Transylvania University with Kellyan. Then she left for Texas Tech and now reuniting at Marshall. And for a player that averages 11.7 points per game, the best three-point shooter in the Sun Belt, it has been a frustrating first half for Maddie Kellyan.
There's a lot of game left, and you got to imagine the percentages are going to fall.
All right, now everything is falling Cincinnati's way. A three-point play on the floater for Hilton.
You like this shot for Cincinnati, dragging the zone out and then throwing the skip to the baseline, and this is what makes Hilton fun to watch. She can nail the three, she can drive to the rim, and here, the nice little mid-range, as we called it from Reagan Jackson 2 weeks ago, the mid-range flush, a floater with the touch.
Hilton at the line. She is a transfer from Texas A&M, started her career at Georgia. First year at Cincinnati, she has erupted for 20 on 3 different occasions. That is her career high. She was not asked to score very much at her previous SEC institutions, but taking on a larger role in the offense with Cincinnati.
So right now, with almost going into half, 2 scores in double figures, 1 on each team.
Marshall hoping to channel some more of that scoring. It's a 14-3 run for Cincinnati over the last more than 3 minutes. Possession's going to keep it with Marshall here with only 5 to shoot. But it has been a tough go of it in this second quarter for the Thundering Herd, especially over the last few minutes.
Well, while Marshall may have the driving advantage when it comes to Mays and Hayes, this matchup with Kellyan being guarded by Tanea Hilton, the odds might be in favor of Hilton's defense.
Long inbound, nearly thrown away. 3 to shoot on the shot clock. Never hit the rim, but Snyder stopped playing. That's ripped away by Mays, and 2 free throws for Marshall here. So Snyder and the Bearcats thought it was a shot clock violation, but Snyder just stopped.
Well, it's tough because when the buzzer sounded, it was to alert the players on the court that the shot clock had run out. However, Snyder seemed to have possession of the ball, which would then render that shot clock really no violation in just Cincinnati's basketball. She should have kept playing through the whistle.
Yeah, Brian Hall, Dee Kantner, and Tiffany Bridges, nice job there on the officiating, because I think you're right, AB. Snyder had the possession before the shot clock expired completely, so that's why they did not call it a shot clock violation. And good on Mays to keep playing, to take it away, but she needs to make her free throws. She has not shot it well at the line today. 0 of 3. Make it 0 of 4.
Well, for as tough as Mays plays and for as much as she's going to get to the free throw line, that's going to be key coming down the stretch.
Snyder too strong off the window, and that's going the other way on the foul.
We mentioned discipline, and right now Marshall is being extremely disciplined on their interior defense. Straight up, no foul on Snyder, forcing the wild shot, and then the solid box out on Jillian Hayes, forcing her to just crash too tough and pick up another foul. That's
her second. Rather inconsequential with picking up a second this late in the first half, but still noteworthy. That likely concludes Hayes' first half here, as Marigny rims out. It's a much different game, AB. We've talked about the free throw shooting for, the 3-point shooting for Marshall, but if they made a couple of free throws, they're 4 of 11 from the line. This would be a lot different of a game if they could make some free throws. They go 0 of 2 again.
And you mentioned Hayes with the 2 fouls, Marshall not shooting well at the free throw line. This is a point where the free throw game could just tilt in Cincinnati's favor.
5 seconds left to go in the half. Byers checks the clock. Hilton. Too short. And that concludes the first half in Cincinnati. Marshall on the wrong end.
More at the free throw line. Meanwhile, boxing out and keeping Cincinnati off of the boards is going to be key to close the gap.
That's a strip, but a foul. And Deba had it, and then Mays thought she poked it away, but a whistle against CeCe Mays.
This is just a tough game right now for CeCe Mays for Marshall. She's not been able to finish well, and then defensively, she's picked up 2 fouls now, diving in on rebounds.
That was her third, so 2 in the first half. Now that one to begin the third, so she'll take a seat. And quickly off the bench, Timberland Yeast out of Harrodsburg, Kentucky. Who missed last year, redshirting due to an injury. Drive inside for Hayes and a whistle. That's Williams in there, who starts the second half. So they're going to try to get Hayes going. You're seeing it already, AB. A couple of quick touches for Hayes, who was held scoreless in the first half.
Well, the double team was coming from the high side. So Hayes, and this time it was just opportune because it was a baseline out-of-bounds play. But Hayes finding ways to go underneath the backboard to try to score on that reverse layup opportunity.
That's certainly a rarity for Hayes to not score in a half. She has scored in double figures in 8 of the 9 games this year. The one game she didn't score in double figures, she was only 1 point shy of a double-double, 9 points, 10 rebounds. So just that kind of a consistent player. She just had a tough first half. And by the way, happy birthday to Jillian Hayes. Today is her birthday. Hoping to give herself a good present with a win and trying to heat up in the second half. Not that time from the mid-range.
That's one of the things that makes Jillian Hayes so special is you mentioned with the win. She's the type of player who it doesn't matter what her stats are. She's always happy for the team to win.
From the corner, Trashandra Williams knocks it in. 36% from long range on the year for Williams.
Well, Williams, with the tough defensive assignments, she's having to focus a lot of energy on containing the post game for the Bearcats. So stepping out to hit the three will open up the court for Marshall.
That's a player that Katrina Merriweather talked about that gives Cincinnati issues, not Williams specifically. Reagan Jackson has the answer for the Bearcats. But those shooting fours and forwards in general, because they draw Hayes away from the basket where her strong suit is at rebounding and finishing around the rim. So those shooting post players do give Cincinnati some issues.
And when you look at how Marshall is running their offense now with Alliance Ndiba on that assignment on Williams, it takes Ndiba away from the basket, away from that shot blocking position. Hence, you see what happens now. Ndiba has to rotate inside to cover the rim and gets called for the foul.
And perhaps that's the reason that Julie Folks started Williams here in this second half, for that specific reason.
Well, you see the chess game there. Folks, so much experience. Coach of the year, lots of experience building the dynasty at Transylvania University.
Right now she's working on instilling the quality of practice habits with this Marshall team, because she had a lot of success, granted at the Division III level. But we said, what's the key to your success? I mean, you're not going 91-2 over the last 3 years for
at point guard, bringing that consistent work, that leadership on the court, and just the discipline.
How about the drive once again? Hayes on Hayes, and Hayes wins.
Ace Hayes is so determined when she's getting to the basket. And you look at her frame and her size and her ability to score over bigger and stronger players is very impressive.
That was going to be a win-win if your last name was Hayes. It was either going to be a forced miss or a make.
Hayes was going to make the play.
Floater for Jackson.
Ariel Jackson, she's been quiet for the Bearcats, but she hasn't needed to do much. But there, you like to see how she can drive in and finish on that mid-range.
You mentioned Kelly a moment ago. She still has not gotten going. That's been the equivalent of the Hayes for Cincinnati. A star player that hasn't heated up in this game. That hit every part of the rim and backboard for Williams, wouldn't go down. And now she'll be there to help poke it away. A deflection off of Reagan Jackson.
Well, Hilton getting excited as Reagan Jackson's running the court. But you talked in the first half about decision-making with the Bearcats on their three-point shooting attempts, and their transition decision-making overall needs to stay sharp.
It's the 7th turnover for Cincinnati in this game, and that is a reach on Hayes, guarding Hayes.
Jillian Hayes off of the ball screen makes the switch, pokes her hand in, feels as if she got all ball, but perhaps it's that left hand totally bodying the ball handler.
That's the 3rd on Hayes, and she makes up for it with a steal. Another floater for Jackson, doesn't get that one. Ndiba tries the putback.
This is what you want to see from Alliance Ndiba. All season long, she has done the basic things that it takes to get Cincinnati in position where they can contend for Big Ten championships. She's defended and rebounded. Now, as the season's progressing, she's securing these offensive rebounds, going in, keeping her base strong, and finishing at the rim.
That's off of Mayer. It's unfortunate there for Marshall. Hayes deflected it, and the redirection off of Mayer out of bounds.
Well, Meredith Mayer, 6 points in that first quarter and held completely scoreless in the second quarter.
She was shooting really well, but certainly cooled down. They'll have to get her going as Marshall stares down a 15-point deficit. Good defense from Kellyan. Jackson giving her the works. Hilton 4 to shoot. Checks the clock. Hayes couldn't find the ball, didn't know where it was. It's in Mayer's hands. Another drive for Hayes, and again, a whistle. And they get Hilton that time. Her first foul today.
Well, Ace Hayes from Marshall, she's just so smart with how she's taking every opportunity. When she sees an inch, she's attacking the rim and going straight in. And you see the reactions from the Bearcats. This is going to affect the way the Bearcats approach this mentally with trying to contain Marshall on the drive.
Well, Hayes is just glad it wasn't on her. That would have been a big fourth. And Coach Merriweather has said she trusts Hayes playing in foul trouble, but I think a fourth in that situation, AB, with 5.5 to play in the third quarter, would have necessitated putting Hayes on the bench.
And likewise, when you talk about trusting players to play in foul trouble, Hilton is one of well, Alliance Ndiba, another offensive rebound and finish through the strong contact by Mayer.
This is the first foul on Mayer. You mentioned it, AB, a player that just shot blocking and rebounding. That's really all she was doing, not to denounce it. I mean, it was still an important role, but it wasn't scoring very much at the beginning part of the season, but last couple of games has really stepped it up. Had a season high 10 against Western Illinois a couple of games ago. Last game, 2.7 rebounds against Xavier. And chipping in offensively again today with nearly 10 points.
The defense and the rebounding, the shot blocking, and then even the shot altering that centers can provide their teams is invaluable. Winning possessions and winning for your team on the inside and the outside with Hilton at the point guard and Ndiba inside, this makes for a strong Bearcat roster.
Good denial, but it somehow finds its way to Hayes and going to the line. Started off really well for Blessing King, who had that initial stop, but it bounced into the hands of Hayes, and she'll be at the line on the other side of the break here in Cincinnati.
If you love what Donato's puts on their pizzas.
46-30, Cincinnati in front of Marshall. The final non-conference tune-up for the Bearcats before Big 12 play begins on the road against Kansas State on Sunday. And if they can get continued offensive improvement from Alliance Ndiba, would certainly a lot of physicality and size come conference play. Ndiba 9 points, 8 rebounds, approaching what would be her first double-double at the Division I level.
And I like how you say first double-double at this level, because as a junior college player, Ndiba averaged a double-double in 57 games with 14 points and almost 12 rebounds.
Well, she had 18 double-doubles just last year alone. Granted, that was, like I said, not at this level, the junior college level at Arizona Western. A JUCO All-American honorable mention last year, a JUCO All-American first-team selection as a freshman. As a sophomore, only played in 5 games due to injury. On the bench right now for Cincinnati, it's Hayes, Byers, Jackson, Mann, and Hilton. Strong drive for CeCe Mays. Had a tough go of it at times today, but excellent move there.
Well, CeCe Mays, now with only 4 points on the game, she's been able to get to the rim, though. Look for her to keep driving and finishing.
That's a reach-in on Cassie Ingram. That's the other half of the Cincinnati duo for this Marshall team we talked about earlier. Almost had the steal, but grabbed Jackson on the way by.
This is the kind of game where you're going to see a lot of scrappiness, particularly as we go down the stretch. Marshall has a culture of winning, and they're so competitive. 3 early games in the season were just down to 1 possession. So they're going to keep fighting to close this gap.
It's what is most proud for Julie Folks this season of her team, how they've given themselves a chance in every game they've played, really at the exception of the game against the Florida Gators a couple of weeks ago. That's the one game she said didn't really go their way from start to finish. It's tipped into the backcourt, no violation on the tip. King tracked it down.
Marshall showing the patience, moving the ball all the way around until it lands in the hands of their leading scorer, Ace Hayes.
Who's now at her season average with 17 today. Marshall still down 14, almost the steal there. Over to Mann, she's open, passed it up. And gets the bounce inside instead. Double-figure game for Mann. 3rd time she's been to at least 10 this season.
Well, the freshman is just finding her stride and her rhythm, not rushing anything, taking her time.
Hayes draws the double, and the dump down is knocked away, looking for Tudor.
Marshall going back into the zone off of the make or the miss.
Acrobatic attempt there for Hilton, and it's out of bounds off of Hayes at the tail end of the play.
Well, Jillian Hayes just coming up a little frustrated, it seems. Just the ball is not falling her way, whether that be on a shot or on these rebound opportunities. There's a lot of contact, a lot of pushing and shoving in the back, and Cincinnati relying on a step, making the substitution, getting Delaney Snyder in.
Hayes has not made a shot from the floor today. Only 2 points, 2 of 4 at the line. That's another 10-second violation. The 2nd time Cincinnati has forced one today.
Cincinnati, the energy right now is all in their favor. Marshall is just trying to find ways to see the court over the extended arms of Cincinnati, who's got the height advantage and just dynamic, quick athleticism.
Jackson just trips over herself, and it leads to a 4-on-1 here for Marshall, but it's blocked and a foul. Mann thought she recovered and got back in the play, but Mayer is going to the line. That was just a unfortunate sequence for Cincinnati, the trip, and then all of a sudden it's a 4-on-1.
Well, Chloe Mann just sprinting back, thinking she has the advantage, but you see Mayer able to call the contact on the hand on the follow-through. And Marshall needs this. Marshall needs to find ways. We mentioned Mayer has been held scoreless since the 1st quarter. 2nd leading scorer for Marshall, averaging 13.3 points per game. She needs to get on the board.
Well, she is a 78% free throw shooter, so these are almost as easy as the 3-point looks that she gets. Well, Cincinnati saw that replay on the video board. They were not happy that this was called a foul against Mann to get to this point for Mayer. She makes them both. So Mayer back in the scorebook after a quiet 2nd quarter. And turnover. Trying for the quick offense, Kellyan rims out. It's been a tough day for Maddie Kellyan.
Just overall, the 3-point shooting for Marshall is just surprisingly low. And as you mentioned, Cincinnati's not known for their 3-point defense. They don't guard the line particularly strong.
Well, that's why they say there's no I in T maybe. I mean, we came into this game, you talk Maddie Kellyan, 12 points per game, 43% from 3. She is 0 of 4, no points today for Cincinnati. Jillian Hayes averaging a double-double, one of only a handful of players in the nation averaging a double-double. She has 2 points and has not made a shot from the floor today. 2 star players struggling, and yet others have to find a way to come in and help out. And we've seen it on both sides.
Right now, Cincinnati going to their bench. Delaney Snyder in the game. She has 7 rebounds so far in this game. Delaney Snyder, a player who's in her sophomore season, has worked hard to develop and be an inside backup force. You mentioned Hayes held scoreless, and then Destiny Thomas out with injury. Delaney Snyder, it's nice to see her with rebound.
And Deepa's obviously had the big game. We've talked about her. Turnaround for Snyder. Ilderton the rebound. She had a good sequence in the first half. She hasn't played much in the second half. She knocked down a 3 at one point. Time Marshall was hanging right in there with Cincinnati. Mayer the kick. Now Ilderton poked away from behind. Stays with Marshall, 9 to shoot on the shot clock.
Tanea Hilton showing her quick hands on defense. And that's something that Cincinnati is known for. We've mentioned both teams have scrappy guards.
Good action on the inbound to free up Ilderton.
Ilderton now with her second three-point make of the game. And this is what you mentioned, Anthony. Marshall has the ability to get hot quick. Only 3 possessions to close the gap.
I know the score is lopsided against them right now, AB, but Marshall does run very good stuff when they can get into a set offense.
They do. You like how they pick apart the defense, and I really like how they change the tempo. Sometimes play fast and sometimes manage the clock.
A wide open look for Byers. She maybe didn't expect to be so open. Started with a good block for Marshall. And that's how they're going to get back in it. Yeast from 3.
Well, Yeast with her first three-point make of the game.
She has 5 points in 7 minutes for the Thundering Herd. That's why you cannot count this team out. Cincinnati still by 8. 30 seconds to go in the third quarter. A whistle away from the ball. Ilderton, the tough. Cincinnati led by as many as 17 earlier in this third quarter. It's now down to 8.
Cincinnati recognizing the opportunity to post up and get some action for Jackson inside. And we see Ramaya Bird there on the substitution. You talk about the depth and versatility. Cincinnati going deep into their bench and getting productive minutes across the board.
Coach Merriweather in her Merry era, according to the sweatshirt. I think that's a missed opportunity there. Merriweather is the last name. You could have played off Mary at the beginning. No? Someone needs to get on her sweater game.
Oh, I got to get on my observation game. The Merry era.
That's a reach against Jackson. So the foul's now starting to pile up a bit as we approach this fourth quarter. That's the third on Ariel Jackson. Hayes already has 3. And 2 players for Marshall have 3 as well, Williams and Mays.
You heard Lori Pirtle mention earlier during the segment how her second season with the Bearcats is where she started to find her stride, although the expectations and resources may not have been aligned. And then now Coach Merriweather in her second season, and then for Marshall, Coach Fulks in her first. This Marshall team is going to continue to be special as Coach Fulks gets, as you mentioned, the offensive system going, and the culture continues to just thrive on what's already been built at Marshall.
A timeout, Cincinnati. And we will take it as well. With 8.4 to go in the third, it'll be a quick return and then go right back to break at the end of this third quarter.
Talk but walks the walk. National Coach of the Year. She won the national championship, and to boot, a PhD in leadership studies.
Well, that's a PhD on how to drive to the basket for Tanea Hilton. Take it,
of course, to go along.
Here's Yeast inside, the lane parts, and the lay-in with the left hand for Yeast. She's up to 7.
This is important, particularly with your scores going quiet. Mayer being quiet right now, having other players step up and fill that scoring gap. Yeast, a player who only averages 3 points per game.
Man, the long two is short. There's Mayer grabbing the rebound. It's her 7th today, 8.7 rebounds for Mayer. Hayes, the good hands, knocked it away in transition. Long skip over to Hilton. Team leader for Cincinnati with 13 points. Knocked away from Hayes again. Stays with Cincinnati, shot clock halfway gone.
Another tough inside possession for Jillian Hayes, who's just swarmed as Marshall has their hands active, ready to prevent her from putting the ball on the floor.
Well, the game plan for Marshall is more or less let anybody other than Hayes beat them today, because they're sending 2, sometimes 3 players, really scrapping it up in there, and it's worked tonight against Hayes. Too strong for Yeast and out of bounds off of Mayer. Is that the right strategy against the Bearcats, is make anybody other than Hayes beat you?
Well, it's tough because the Bearcats have shown that they can score by multiple positions. It could be Tanea Hilton. It could be Reagan Jackson. We all know what Ariel Jackson is capable of doing with the ball in her hands. And then when you see Chloe Mann and Allianz and Diva step up and expand what they can do and provide scoring-wise, you know, it's a tough coin toss, Anthony, on strategy.
Well, it's worked tonight for Marshall, but I think to your point, and that's going to go the other way, foul on King. I think to your point, AB, is, you know, force anyone to beat you other than Hayes. And in terms of guarding Hayes, it's worked tonight. 0 of 5 from the floor, just 2 points. And yet Cincinnati is still up 10. So to your point, Cincinnati can win with others outside of Hayes, even if a team does shut down Hayes.
And Jillian Hayes, she's strong in multiple ways. What stands out the most, though, in addition to her not scoring much, she only has 1 rebound. And that's where Coach Falk's mastermind genius strategy may work to their advantage.
So that's a bucket for Mann, and they're going to get a foul on Hayes afterwards. So the bucket will count, but then the foul on Hayes is her 4th guarding or battling for the rebound.
And this is why I said mastermind genius strategy, because Coach Folks mentioned that they may send not only 2 to guard Hayes with the ball, but Marshall may send 2 to box out Hayes to keep her off of the glass. Well, when Hayes can't rebound and when Hayes can't score, she's going to want to work hard to get something in rhythm for her team.
Well, you can tell she's frustrated. You can tell the coaching staff is frustrated. Up 12, but
previous plays under further review.
Feeling as if Hayes has been on the wrong end of some calls today. What is being reviewed? You see Hayes right in the middle there, some elbows being swung around, and then Hayes, her fellow namesake, going down there at the end of the play. The bucket does count for Mann, but that's what they were reviewing, if that's going to be anything more than just a common foul. And AB, you've seen it. What are your thoughts?
You know, it seems to be more than a common foul. It's a bit aggressive, and, you know, Hayes, she has to maintain her composure. There was 2 opportunities there for her to just gather and not react.
And here comes the announcement.
After review, the foul on number 20 from Cincinnati has been upgraded to an intentional foul.
I think based on, you know, we only had that one angle of it, AB, but I don't think either of us are totally shocked by that call.
No, that's a very fair and solid call against Hayes, who will use this as a learning opportunity. Surely Coach Merriweather, in her Mary era, will go back to the film and break that down and coach Jillian Hayes through this.
Well, it has been a frustrating day. We've talked about it. 2 points, 0 of 5, 4 fouls now. But she gets docked with the intentional, so 2 free throws for Kellyan, who's, as we've talked about for Marshall, has been on the other end of it for Marshall, their star player, who until that 1 free throw was held scoreless. So she's in the scorebook now. But it is 2 free throws, 1 of 2 for Kellyan, and now Marshall basketball after the intentional in an 11-point game.
An 11-point game is a close game with over 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Especially the way that Marshall can shoot threes. That's an old-fashioned 3 for Ace Hayes.
Well, Cincinnati just picking up fouls and continues to send Marshall to the free throw line. Again, Ace Hayes just aggressive and confident with her finishes to the rim. A nice lane line drive. All night long, she's been able to find ways to get a quick first step and drive and finish. And now, her 9th and free throw attempt on the night.
And that's 4 on Ariel Jackson as well. That's an over-the-back foul against Kellyan. Trying to nudge her way in there. Marshall has missed 13 free throws today. 10 of 23 at the line. I mean, AB, if they made half of those, if they made 5 more, you're talking about a significantly different game.
Overall, Marshall doesn't shoot well from the three-point line. I mean, it's solid at 67%, but right now only shooting 43% and still within arm's reach of winning this game under a 10 points.
And good heads-up play by Coach Fulks from the sideline to call the timeout. So with 8 minutes to play, Coach Fulks uses her first timeout of the day to maintain possession. The Arrow would have had it at Cincinnati. Speaking of the Bearcats, 2 different players with 4 fouls. And arguably 2 of the most important players. Certainly Hayes falls into that category. Ariel Jackson, a very good defender. Helps the Bearcats get into some offensive sets. She has 4. Diba and Mann at this stage of the game with the 2, not much to worry about there. But the 2 big ones up top with Jackson and Hayes.
Well, Coach Merriweather has 3 fundamental targets for her team each time they step on the court. And one of them, every game, is defend without fouling. And that's just been a nemesis for Cincinnati. You mentioned earlier, Tanea Hilton getting in foul trouble and Chloe Mann being able to step up and fill that gap against Xavier.
One of the others is make more free throws than the other team attempts. And that has not happened today either. Cincinnati has made 12 free throws, but Marshall has attempted 23. They have not capitalized, but a lot of fouling today. That's going to be another timeout for Marshall. So Coach Fulks recognizing a potential momentum swing here, not wanting to waste this possession, calls back-to-back timeouts. So Coach Fulks trying to draw something else up here with 17 to shoot after another timeout. Kellyan went head over heels.
When you look at what Marshall's been able to do throughout the course of their season, you mentioned the late game and the strategy, the tactical X and O's of Coach Fulks. Against Toledo and against Northern Kentucky, those were 2 tough losses for Marshall that came down to just 1 possession. And then the most recent win you mentioned earlier, Anthony, against Jacksonville, again, that was a 1-possession win. So down the late game stretch, Marshall may have an advantage.
And even the game against Tulsa, that was an overtime win. Played in some tight games. Hayes, wild shot, good defense for Mann. Never hit the rim, so no reset for Kellyan here. And it did reset the shot clock. Must have called a change of possession, perhaps. The turnaround for Hayes goes in. Did that hit the rim, or was I going crazy?
You know, I think it was all clean. Everything hit as the clock ran.
In and out for Holtman. A foul under the basket. So maybe I misspoke there. Maybe it did hit the rim and I saw something else, but that did reset to a 20 seconds on the shot clock, and it worked out for Marshall on the turnaround shot.
Well, Marshall was due for a call to fall their way, quite frankly. There's been a lot of physicality on both ends, and although Marshall has not been able to convert at the free throw line.
There's a turnover. King up ahead. It is all of a sudden a 5-point game. The Thundering Herd marching their way back.
Well, King for Marshall. She's the player that Coach Folks said is that unsung hero in a sense. She's the one who does the type of things that don't always quite get the recognition.
7-0 run for Marshall over the last minute and a half. Jackson faked it. The drive, floater, yes. Much needed bucket for Cincinnati.
Well, with everyone else being shut down, Reagan Jackson was able to find the way to get the ball right back into her sweet spot with the floater.
Long skip to Williams. Kellyan. Wide open. Put Jackson on her back for the two.
Well, Kellyan keeping her hands up and the ball protected. This is what you get with a player with experience. The graduate student against the sophomore.
That was a perfect example, too, there of everybody guarding the perimeter. And once Jackson went down, it was an easy layup for Kellyan. That's an over the back against Trishandra Williams. Her fourth foul.
So Marshall here, Kellyan on the drive. We've talked about the lane line drives and how they open up. And she just kept her guard hand up and protected. Reagan Jackson attempting to take the charge, but no call.
Good hands from Hayes, and Williams rips it away, playing with the 4 fouls out there for Marshall.
I like how Williams is just staying aggressive all night long. She's been aggressive inside, hitting a 3 when opportune, but mostly handling defensive assignments.
Chance to make it a 1-possession game. Hayes is stuck. Kellyan. Nowhere to go. Williams. Out of the range of Ace Hayes, trying to save it. He's a bit of a grimace there. She'll jog off along with Kellyan. Ilderton back in, Ingram as well. Mayer subbing out, so wholesale changes here. Yeast coming in, and Mays as well for Marshall.
Cincinnati has not opened up this game. They've let Marshall stay in just close enough that this could go either way, and Marshall with the pressure, defense, forcing Cincinnati to move the basketball around, expecting them to go into an ill-advised shot or a turnover.
Coach Folks got some of her stars on the bench with the under 5 timeout looming. Couple extra minutes to breathe over there. Ariel Jackson is back in with her 4 fouls for Cincinnati. The inbound to Hilton leads to a 3-point play chance.
Now this is going to be the tough momentum shifter perhaps in the game, Anthony. Tanea Hilton finishes this tough shot. The energy in the arena electrifies, the bench goes on fire. And what's important is it might be the 5th foul now.
And it is on Williams. Good call there, AB. So she's done with 3 points, 3 rebounds. And not only a defensive presence, but also some size to counter Cincinnati on the interior. Done for the day. So Mayer has come in.
You hear the Cincinnati coaches insisting on defense, the time to lock in defensively. And although Williams is out of the court, and that's going to be a hurt for Marshall on defense, they still have 3-point shooters in the game, and the percentages are just waiting to fall Marshall's way.
Trying to free up action for Kellyan. Hasn't worked today. Mayer now. Skip to Ilderton. Cincinnati players down. It's a 5-on-4 for Mayer, and it rims out.
What a well-executed play and pass from Ilderton. And then on the flip side, all game long, Cincinnati has shown the decision-making being an Achilles heel. When to pull and when to push. Ariel Jackson just too tough on the home run pass to Brianna Byers.
No under 5 timeout here due to the timeout called earlier in this quarter. First coach called timeout, negated that. Hayes from 3, 24 today for Aislinn Hayes.
Aislinn Hayes is playing the moment. She is a big-time scorer, averages 17 points per game, and as you said, 24 tonight.
Jackson, good drive. Late contest by Mayer, alternate. Hayes still can't get anything to go today. And Blessing King the rebound.
Another strong defensive set inside for Marshall all night long. Their interior defense has been disciplined. And now with Williams on the bench, they're able to get another stop.
Hesitation for Mayer, indecisive. Mays on the weave pattern. Turnaround. Look at that rebound from Hayes. Her 8th today.
Well, Cincinnati may want to go ahead and get Alliance Ndiba back in the game just for what she's able to provide on the rebounding, secure every possession possible.
Off the mark for Jackson. You have to wonder if this 5-out style for Marshall is making Coach Merriweather think otherwise, AB. That's the only thing that I could maybe think of, and maybe your coaching hat would agree or disagree, but is that part of the reason maybe why?
Well, that's a good analysis. With the way that Marshall is shooting the basketball, it may not hurt to go ahead and keep Ndiba on an assignment. Perhaps they can even go back to their zone.
No dice for Hayes. Looking towards 2 minutes to go in the 4th. It's a 5-point game. Marshall trying for its 5th win of the year. Cincinnati trying for its 8th, with conference play looming starting on Sunday. A little space for Jackson. Byers battling for the board, and a whistle. It's against Marshall.
Well, perhaps I stand corrected. Brianna Byers attacking the offensive board, able to earn a trip to the free throw line with her aggressiveness. And as you mentioned, she has the ability to contain multiple positions defensively on the court.
Maybe a bit more comfortable stepping out to defend the 3-point line, and that's perhaps the reason going with Byers instead of Ndiba down the stretch here. King has come back in for Mays for the Thundering Herd with Byers at the line. Free throws on every foul the rest of the way, with Marshall over the limit. Now Marshall has already seen 1 player foul out, and they have a trio with 3 fouls. King, Kellyan, and Mays. 1 of 2 for Byers.
When you look at what Brianna Byers is able to do, she averages 17 minutes a game for the Bearcats. She's used to being in these situations.
Way long for Meyer. Tried the quick trigger 3 to cut the deficit in half. And Hilton will take some air out of the basketball.
Cincinnati going to show some patience. Move the ball around against the zone. The zone breaks down, finds an open Brianna Byers, who gets blocked.
Now what a block it was by King. That glue player really fits in any lineup. She's big enough to be a forward that still has some guard responsibilities as well, and just kind of ties it all together for the Thundering Herd.
Blessing King rotating over strong defensively.
And then on the inbound, she gets docked for the foul. Her 4th, so Ingram quickly pops up. Mayer is out. Man is in, Jackson is out for Cincinnati. Those are the fouls we were talking about a moment ago, and now you can update that with King getting her 4th.
So Coach Falk's playing a little offense-defense here, substituting King out of the game. She is not hit a 3 yet on the season, and then subbing Cassie Ingram in, who is an 83% three-point shooter.
Averages just shy of 4 a game in limited action. Byers making some big free throws for Cincinnati. And now Bird in for Reagan Jackson. So Cincinnati getting a little bit bigger and more athletic on the perimeter.
Cincinnati going to try to slow Marshall down, get them out of their offense, force a turnover or a layup.
Coast to coast, Kellyanne. Maybe she can heat up down the stretch.
And when you play those numbers the way that Coach Merriweather is trying to do right now, get the 2-point instead of the 3, but not the turnover.
Trapped to perfection for Marshall. Good up fake, Ingram. Nowhere to go. No look, Kellyanne. Yes! 5-point swing for Maddie Kellyanne. And timeout, Julie Folks and Marshall in a 3-point game.
Well, what a big shot, run to perfection. First, it was Cassie Ingram on the drive and the pivot looking for a teammate for the shot. That wasn't there. So it was a kick out. And all of this was started off of a defensive steal. Double team on Tanea Hilton. And then you see Cassie Ingram dishing it right outside to Madison Kellyanne.
We've talked about Kellyanne all game. How she was quiet, lit on the basket, really couldn't do much. All of a sudden, making them when they count. 8 points, all of them in this second half. And 5 of them in the last 30 seconds.
This is what Coach Falk said when she mentioned how important Kellyanne's presence is for the Thundering Herd.
4 threes in the first half, 6 in the second half. This is eerily reminiscent of the last game against Jacksonville, when of their 14 threes in the game, they made 6 in the fourth quarter alone to hold on for the 2-point win. Tip pass, another turnover. Yeast hangs in the air, it's a 1-point game. What a swing for the Thundering Herd.
Marshall coming out with the press, and Ariel Jackson with the lofty pass, almost giving it right to Yeast from Marshall, who is smart. Goes straight to the rim for the finish.
They were down by as many as 17 AB. Middle of the third quarter. At the 4-minute and 12 mark of the third quarter, it was a 17-point Cincinnati lead, and now it's a 1-point game.
What we see here with the pressure, Cincinnati was not prepared. They did not know what to do. You see Brie Byers just toss her hands up in the air. This is where Marshall's schedule comes to play. They've played a tough schedule. They've had close games. And then now they're ready and prepared to execute.
One-point game, 53.3 to go. Cincinnati's timeout moves the basketball to the front court. Inbound to Hilton.
Marshall staying in their 2-3 zone, hands are up. They're trusting their defense.
Cincinnati has not made a shot from the field in their last 5 attempts. More than 4 minutes without a make from the floor. Under 10 to shoot. Hilton, few jabs. Cuts it back to the middle, trips. And that's a travel. A turnover by Hilton gives it back to Marshall. The shot clock will be off and down by 1.
Well, Cincinnati trying to take their time and calculate for the right basket, but not enough player movement.
Marshall can win it on this possession. Hayes. Back out, under 10 to play. Marshall trying for the big upset on the road. Force pass down low. Byers takes it away. 2.7 to play, and it's going Cincinnati's way with free throws.
Well, Bree Byers, the sophomore, in the game for her defense and does the assignment. Comes up with a big steal from help side. This may seal it for Cincinnati.
Now Cincinnati, in their wins, just shy of 9 turnovers a game. In their losses, nearly 21. Today they've turned it over 18 times. So the numbers would tell you that this is maybe a game that they'd be destined to lose with the high turnovers, but they're trying to hold on against the Thundering Herd. Of note here, AB, 2 free throws for Byers. If she makes both, it's still a 3-point game. Marshall has 1 timeout left to advance the basketball.
These are big free throws for Bree Byers. She's been scoreless from the field and has scored all her points tonight from the free throw line.
2 of 2. And now Coach Folks will use her final timeout to draw up a play. They need a 3 to tie this game.
So this is where defensive strategy becomes vital. Not only does Marshall need to be very clear about what they're doing offensively in their offensive scheme, but Cincinnati as well with their defense. What screens are they switching? Are they switching on the catch? Are they switching prior to the ball being inbounded?
So obviously having the timeout here works out for Marshall to advance the basketball, although I want to think back to that last turnover, AB. Coach Folks had a chance to use one perhaps to set up some offense once Hayes got stuck. And she's used a timeout at various points in this game when a player is in trouble to help them out. I'm curious, did you like that decision to let the offense play out there?
You know what? For Coach Folks and for Marshall, that was a good decision. They have the experience late game. Cincinnati does not. Also, timeouts in that situation tend to often favor the defense, not the offense.
Well, now it works out for them to advance the basketball, but down by 3, they need a 3. It is their specialty. Mayer, Hayes, Kellyan, King, Mays on the floor for Marshall. Hayes, Hilton, Mann, Byers, and Bird. The 5 for Cincinnati. A 3 to tie here for Marshall. All the way to the corner to King. Now to Kellyan, jumping catch for the tie. It's off the mark. Cincinnati holds on against Marshall.